What's up, everyone? This is Isaac with Hunger Smash Fitness. Going to go ahead and do the last part of the World Ultimate Strongman series on my channel for now, at least until next year, I guess. I meant to get this out a couple days ago, but I've had finals and everything coming up. That's one of the downsides of going back to school when you're in your 30s with kids and a family and everything else. Um, but here I am. So I ended up getting busy. Didn't get this out as quickly as I would have liked, but we are doing it now. So first of all, if you have not subscribed to me, followed me on Instagram, Instagram is a great way to get a hold of me. Um, Obviously, with the YouTube channel, we're doing live streams every weekend now between I and my block Strongest Man. So if you want to make sure to catch those every Saturday, those are 3 o'clock Pacific time, West Coast time, 6 o'clock Eastern time. Um, Make sure that you try and hop in. We're trying to get a lot of great guests on those streams. Also, if you have any athletes or anything that you'd like to recommend, any guests that you'd like to recommend, IG is a great way to get a hold of me. Shoot me a message. As you can see, I like to put all my goofy videos and everything in here of me doing, fun, crazy stuff with sandbags, trying to do some floor chest press with them, doing hundreds of squats and all that sort of stuff. So check it out on IG, and yeah, let's get in touch. So, World Ultimate Strongman is done. There has been a lot of talk. I'll put the link to this stream in my video down below. So if you want to watch the full thing, definitely I recommend that you do it. It was a great show. This is one of the first times that they've actually live streamed an entire strongman show. Overall, I think they did a really good job. Shaw Classic did it where you could buy a membership and you could watch it the day after it happened. Um, this is the first time that I think someone's actually live streamed it. I guess the Arnold Classic they do bits and pieces of it and stuff like that as well. So there is that as well. But this is a great thing. They showed that you can actually live stream a competition and it turns out pretty well. It really gets people motivated. A lot of people were involved. They were watching it. Um, there were a couple hiccups during the competition that made it a little bit difficult. The main one that everyone's been talking about was with the deadlift. Um, the agreement beforehand was that the athletes were supposed to load the plates as they did the deadlift. This ended up, well, we'll watch. Ivers was the one that went first, and then they kind of adjusted it after Ivers to compensate. Um, and let's just take a look. We'll watch how Ivers did with it. Um, so let me see. Where did he start? We'll find the beginning of the video here. So and like I said before, this is a big thing that I was thinking about is they have to strap in every single time, and so it's gonna take time off. It's gonna make it harder for them to go through the lifts. As you can see, first lift starts unstrapping. As he runs over to get the weight, all of a sudden the helpers run forward to kind of help out. Um, I don't completely know what they were told, what the assistants on the side were told. Um, so they kind of helped out. Lawrence Shawley had a great video. He was there with it, and so he had a great video talking about it and everything. Um, yeah, and so you can see that the helpers did the one side, Ivers tried to do the other side. And when you're in the middle of a competition, you want everything to be running as smoothly as possible. So yeah, you can see by the time he got there, they pretty much already had it set. So then he he just goes right back into it. Um, he was getting a little frustrated. I know, hearing from some of the other guys that were there, he was a little bit upset, which I can understand. Um, And then, yeah, he starts unstrapping. By the time he gets unstrapped, they already have the weights on. So, what they ended up doing, because then with the next athletes, let's look at some of the other ones here. With the next athletes that went, um, they just ended up staying strapped in the entire time. And okay, so at first he starts to unstrap. Mikhail was smart, just stayed strapped in. Next one. Yeah, and so as they got on, a lot of the later athletes, they didn't even bother. They just stood there, prepped, got the weight on, did the next rep, stayed prepped, didn't even have to adjust their footwork or anything, just regrip the bar and get ready for the next rep. Um, so it sounds like what they ended up doing to compensate Ivers for the lost time, because he actually unstrapped each time and he actually lost a lot of time, was they had an athlete meeting afterwards and they discussed it with everybody and they said, hey, this is kind of what happened. What we're going to do is we're going to watch the footage, calculate how much time Ivers lost with his reps, and then give him an adjusted time. And I think it did bump him up a little bit in the deadlift event, um, but it wasn't significant. Ivers ended up having a fantastic competition otherwise. Maybe he was upset and used that anger from the first one. And then there's Ithor. He always wears his belt super high. I've tried to do that before. I can't wear it up on my rib cage like that. I have to wear it down below. But hey, everyone wears their belt in a different spot. Everybody has a different level of comfort. So yeah, so you can see with all these other athletes here, when they're doing it, they for the most part just stayed strapped in. So yeah, so that was a little bit upsetting. I know a lot of people were not as happy with that. If you were watching the chat replay, the chat was blowing up. If you go on their Instagram page, there were a ton of comments. A lot of people were really upset. Sounds like most of the athletes, once the staff actually talked to them and said, hey, this is how we'll compensate you for losing some time. And then those that just stayed strapped in, they just got the score that they got. And it sounded like most of the athletes were okay with that. And so I'm glad that they rectified this situation. This is part of the problem with running a show with people who are not familiar with the sport, essentially. So a lot of times when with Giants Live or World's Strongest Man, something like that, they have a crew that are set. They do all the events. They've done it for several years, so they're really worked in. They know what to do and when and who's in charge and whose advice to follow and all that sort of stuff. World Ultimate Strongman, this is only the third year I think that they've run it, so everyone's still fairly fresh, and a lot of the I think a lot of the guys that are helping out are not familiar with strongman. It sounds like there was a little bit of a language barrier as well. I don't know how significant that was. I don't know how big of a language barrier or anything like that there was. But it just sounds like there was a little bit of a difficulty with that on that aspect of it. Overall, Axel Deathlift was amazing. I mean, they let's see if we can go down and see the final score on it here. They had a great turnout. You know, JF, Stoltman, Rhino, Tom. Okay. This is another downside with a 3-something hour live stream is it's really hard to find the one, 20-second blip that you're trying to spot. I know it's right. Okay, here we go. Let's see if they pull it up. Okay. They don't have the actual times listed on this. But yeah, Bobby Thompson blew it out of the water. He did phenomenal, which Bobby Thompson is becoming a fantastic athlete all around. I'll go more into that when I actually get into the predictions and outcomes and all that sort. But yeah, he had a great showing. Rhino Heinlap, I figured he was going to do really well. Alexi figured he was going to do really well. JF, I figured he was going to do better. But you know, you can't win them all. It's sometimes it's your day, and sometimes it's not your day, and you can't always accommodate to that. Um, so the mystery event that they ended up doing was the flagpole, um, flag raise, and this one was awesome. I was super excited when I discovered that they were doing this. It's a throwback to the old time strongman competitions. Um, I think they said it was a 70 kilogram flagpole raise, which is a lot of weight. You know, that's 180 pounds, something like that, that they're hauling up a rope. Um, and you can see because it was a mystery event, nobody really had time to prepare, and so it was fantastic seeing everybody going in the different techniques that they used. Some people's technique was, you know, a lot better than other people's, and so as you can see, it's just as many times as you can get it up the flagpole in a set amount of time. Um, some of the guys were, you know, sitting on the ground doing like a hand over hand. I think Rob Kearney was doing that. Um, some of the guys like Alexi was like getting air. He was jumping up the rope and hauling on it. And so it's fun seeing all the different athletes. There's Alexi. Um, all the different athletes and their styles and how they each handled the event. Bobby Thompson, he has a great Instagram story afterwards. He burned through his gloves pretty well. It happens, stuff like this, you know. So, but yeah, that was fun seeing that they had like a throwback basically like that. Um, So, if you want to watch the full live stream, I highly recommend that you do it. I will post this link below in the video. I will also post a link to Lawrence Chalet's post competition review because he was there and he had some great insight as well. So, before we go, well, here we'll go to the predictions. We'll see how I did. Okay, so what we did here. Terry Hollins was out. I didn't quite hear why, but he ended up being a judge there instead. And then Rob Kearney was a late arrival, so I didn't end up getting to do a predictions video for him. So that's why I have Rob's name in yellow and Terry's name in blue because they basically switched. Um, the green is where I was off by one or I was spot on in Adam's case, which, you know, when you've got 15 athletes, I was expecting there to be quite a bit of difference between my predictions and the actual outcomes, just because, like I've said before, day of the competition, everything's up in the air. You know, someone could have had a horrible night's sleep. Someone could have gotten food poisoning. Who knows? Bobby Thompson had that Arnold Classic 2019, I think it was. Um, yeah, everything's up in the air. Everything can change so quickly. So, some of the things that I was actually fairly close on, I thought JF was going to win it, and as you can see, it's out of 70 points total, I think, or I can't remember the max score that you can get with this. Maybe it was 80 points total. Um, so yeah, so I figured JF was going to win by a point. Um, I'll go a little bit after and show the actual scores that they got, and you can see that there's some larger gaps in the scores there. So I figured JF was going to barely sneak past Alexi. Alexi obviously won. JF came in second. I thought Rhino was going to have a good day. Rhino ended up being down towards the bottom of the pack. Like I said, sometimes you have good days, sometimes you have bad days. I had Ivers fairly central, and he ended up getting third. You know, and he had a horrible start with the deathlift. So I'm glad that he came back from that. The other events he ended up doing really well with, and he ended up holding his own pretty well. Tom and Luke Stoltman, I figured Tom. I figured I was being too hard on him, and I figured he was going to do better. He actually, points wise, was a ways down. Some people were saying that he was injured and that there was other stuff going on. I haven't heard anything to solidify that. We'll see. Um, and then, yeah, I was expecting a little bit more out of Mohammed Azatpour. I'm not completely sure how to say his name. I figured, I thought maybe he was going to be up above Luke at least. The same thing. Sometimes it's your day, sometimes it's not, you know. And then Bobby, I kind of discredited. He's still newer to the competition. A lot of these events are not favoring him, and he ended up doing pretty well. And as you we'll go through with the actual points and everything, and he he was right up there. He was, I guess he was tied for all these, and then they did a recount and they counted back and took 1 point away from him, which pushed him down to eighth instead of tied for fifth. And then yeah, Adam Bishop, I was spot on with, so I will take credit for that. I guess apparently, that was just a lucky guess by guessing where he would place with stuff. And the scores, when I went through and looked at the scores that he got, the scores were different than what I had predicted. But the final point outcome was the same. Irvin Toots, I'm, you know, I wasn't expecting a ton out of him just because I know with the injury and with everything else that he's had going on. Um, yeah, I wasn't sure how he was going to perform. He did a little bit better than I had him placed at. He's one of those ones that I would love to see really excel, and I think he has a ton of potential. Just needs to figure out his rhythm, basically. Rob Kearney, I don't. To be honest, I don't think Rob should have been competing. It's he's still in the window of re-injury after he's had the surgery and everything else. But you know, it's one of those things where those, you know, those guys, they have the fire in them. They need to compete. They need to see how well they can do on the big stage, basically. And so I can respect him for that. I think his injury was still pestering him a little bit. He didn't do the deadlift. He did fairly well in. Most of the other stuff, he did not have the speed or the strength that he should have had to compete. And then same with Constantine. Constantine's coming back from injury. Yeah, this was kind of his big debut back into the big stage. He's had a lot of nagging injuries lately, and I'm really hoping that he can recover and come back because I think he has a ton of potential. Um, as you can see, I had him back up in the middle of the pack. It just wasn't his day. And then Mikhail Shivlyakov, love the guy. He's the happiest guy I've ever seen. Winning, losing, whatever, he's always got a smile on his face. He's always in a good mood. Love the guy, and I'm so happy that he keeps coming back because he's a blast to watch. He's a joy just to watch compete. So these are kind of the final scores right here that they had overall. Obviously, there were a couple injuries and stuff that were nagging some of the athletes that hindered some of their performances. I'm hoping by the time, you know, the Shot Classic and World Strongest Man and stuff comes around, I'm really hoping that these guys can be back up to 100%. But you know, with strongman, that doesn't always happen. When you're lifting 900 plus pounds for reps or something like that, injuries happen. It's, you know, it's just part of the game. So those are the actual outcomes. If we go back here and we pull up the actual score, so Alexi got 70 points. So it must have been out of 85 total because 15 athletes, 5 events, so 85 points total. Alexi got 70 points. That's really good. Second place, JF Crone got 58. So Alexi won by 12 points. And there were a lot of people, especially after World's Strongest Man, that were kind of discrediting him, kind of saying he won on a fluke. I think Alexi was out to show people that it wasn't a fluke. that he's here to win. He's here for a while. And that being said, same day, different events, Alexi might not win. These events, definitely, he dominated in. But as I've said with all these other athletes, day of, sometimes you have it, sometimes you don't. You know, sometimes you would do a lot better on a squat that day than a deadlift, but a deadlift is what's on the table, and so you have to perform with that. And so that's part of what I love about strongman is, there's 70 some different potential events and combinations of events and everything else that they can do. The deadlift alone, there's probably 15 different variations that they could pick from to throw in. um and so one of those variations, maybe JF would win. One of them he won't. And it's one of those things where day of, you just need to bring your best game, and hope for the best, basically. As you can see here, Tom, Ramin, and Muhammad all had the same score, and Bobby apparently as well had 43 points, and then they did a count back, and they took one away from Bobby, which is kind of it's how it works sometimes. Now, if they were all tied for the podium, I'd be pretty upset. Tied for fifth place, fifth bumps you down to eighth. It happens once in a while. But you can see there's some decent sized gaps in here as well with the scoring, where you don't always see that. And Constantine and Mikhail, I really hope the best for them. I'm disappointed that they didn't quite bring their best game. And Rhino, I was really expecting a lot more from him. It just wasn't in the cards for him today. So that's kind of my predictions. This is the outcomes for everything. As I said again, Lawrence Shawley has a really great post-cap, video about everything. He was there at the competition. His wife was able to get footage, of everything as it was happening. So he has a lot better breakdown. So I will post his video down below, and I'll definitely post the full live stream down below so you can have the chance to watch that. But overall, great show. It was a fantastic show. I really hope that they keep doing it. It'll, and especially early on with shows, you have to expect little hiccups like this. I know, 1 or 2 years back, they had some problems with the stage, where when the larger athletes were walking across the stage with 1,200 pounds or whatever it was on their back, the stage was creaking and bending. It wasn't holding up to their weight. So, it happens. That's part of the game, and you got to just roll with it and keep going. Hopefully they'll work it out. Hopefully they'll smooth out the events. There'll be some better communication, and we'll go forward. And next year it'll be even better. But yeah, so that was the predictions and outcomes video. Let me know what you thought of it down below. Definitely comment. Definitely like this video. Share this video with whoever you think would enjoy it or appreciate it. Yeah, just let me know what you thought of all the athletes, who you were hoping would win, who you expected to win, and let's have some dialogue on this. So anyways, once again, this is Isaac with Hunger Smash Fitness. Make sure you swing by every Saturday for our live streams. It's either on my channel or on my Block Strongest Man channel. Check it out. Subscribe to our channel so you don't miss the live stream. And let me know if there's any athletes or guests that you want us to have on the stream that you think have some valuable input on strongman in general. We talk about upcoming competitions, our favorite events, ways to train for events, everything. Nothing's off the table with that. So yeah, once again, this is Isaac, and just remember to always improve that 1%.